Hello everyone, Raul here. Today's video is gonna be a beginner tutorial on the CSS position property. We're gonna first look at its basics, try to understand how every type of positioning works. Then at the end we're gonna use these positions to create this layout right here. We're gonna use all of them and try and make this layout so you understand exactly how you can use these properties. So let's get started with the basics. First, we have a basic HTML template right here. I've linked the CSS file, and we're gonna use this to make the basics for this this video. So first, let's add our a div with the class of container. We're gonna put all our elements in here. I am gonna use an extension called Live Server. You can get it from the extensions in VS Code. After you install it, you right click and then open with Live Server. And I'm gonna close the other one. Okay, so in this container, we will add a p tag, and then it's gonna have a class. First one is gonna be static. So I am position static. Each p tag is gonna say exactly what value for the position tag we're gonna give. And we're gonna slowly add all of them, all the different value types, and understand how they work. First, let's do some basic styling. What I like to do to understand better how everything works is set my margin and padding on everything to 0, just so I don't have to worry about them. And also box sizing border box, because if I set a width on an element, I want it to also include the padding and the borders. Okay, after this, let's do some styling on the body. We're gonna put a background color of, let's say, this aqua here. Add a padding of 16 pixels. And just so we can use the scroll, we're gonna set a height of 200 viewport heights. So this is gonna give us this body right here, and we can scroll through it. We're gonna need the scroll a little bit later, so it's gonna be really useful. Next, let's style the container. So the container, let's set a background color black, and the color is gonna be white for the text, and also the height of 100%. So now we got this huge black square right here. Now, normally all elements are with a position static. So normally you shouldn't have to write this, but it's gonna be position static. This is what each element is normally has the default value for it. So I'm also gonna add a background color of, let's choose a dark blue here. And to make everything bigger, I'm gonna style every p tag in the container. I'm gonna give it a padding of 16 pixels. This is gonna just make it bigger so you can see it better. Great, so this is the first value of position. Now let's add another one. But before we do that, I'm gonna create here at the bottom a tag, a p tag, that's gonna have some dummy text. So I'm just gonna say lorem 50 here in VS Code, and I get this emet abbreviation, and if I hit tab, I'm gonna get 50 words of lorem ipsum. If I save it, you can see it right here. I want to have this text right here just so you can see how every position interacts with elements that are after it. Great. Now let's add another one. So we're gonna add a p tag with the class. This time we're gonna say class relative, and text is gonna be I am position relative. Great. Now let's style this one. So we're gonna get the relative class. We're gonna add a background color to it. Let's choose, I like this yellow right here. Then we're gonna set position relative. And if I hit save, you see nothing happens. But the nice fact about position relative is that now you can use the top, bottom, left, and right properties. So it's gonna be top, bottom, left, and right. You normally use either top or bottom or either left or right. You don't need to have all four of them at the same time. But if you set one of these positions, so we're gonna do, let's say top, we'll do 100 pixels. It's gonna take our element and move it from the normal flow of the website with 100 pixels from its current position, but its footprint will still remain right here. So if I hit save, you see it moved the element on top of the text, but we got this hole right here, which is supposed to be exactly the same height as this element. One fun fact here is that if you try and click your mouse here and select it, it will actually select the text in that element. You can also select it from here. So this is something really interesting I noticed. Great. So you can also move it, let's move it left. Let's do minus 16 pixels. So it's gonna move it minus 16 pixels from the left. And it's actually gonna take it outside of its container if needed. So this is position relative. Great. Now let's do another one. The next one is gonna be, let's make another p tag with the class of absolute. Now we're gonna do position absolute. Absolute. Great, and we got another element right here. Now, for the moment, I'm gonna comment these out just so we don't have to worry about where this p tag is. So let's just look at position absolute. So give it a background color. Let's do a green for this one. And then we're gonna set position absolute. I want you to really notice what exactly happens when I'm gonna hit save on this. So it got the green color, it put it on top of the text that was after it. So it basically took the whole p tag and ripped it out of the normal document flow. So it's like it doesn't exist there. The other elements don't care for what this p tag right here has. So you can set any properties you'd like. The rest of the document will be behind it if needed, and it won't care for this position absolute. Okay, so but we now can also use the top, bottom, left, and right properties. So you can set top. Let's do also 100 pixels just so we can compare it to position relative. So you see, if I set top to 100 pixels, it actually moved it more to the upper side of the document instead of down, as you maybe would have expected. I'm also gonna uncomment this from position relative just so you can see exactly what happened. I'm gonna comment back the left. So position relative moved the p tag 100 pixels from its normal position in the document. On the other hand, position absolute moves the element with 100 pixels from the top of the document. So there are 100 pixels from the top of the document to this. Now, if you want to set this element to move relative to its container, you actually have to set position relative on the container. So for this position absolute, for this p tag, we have the container, the div with the class name container. So now, if we do position relative, oh wait, I set it on the wrong item. I'm just gonna copy it. Here on the container, so if we set position relative on the container, now the position absolute will move relative to its container, not to the whole document. So you see it moved a little bit down, exactly with 16 pixel, which is this padding right here. Great. So these are position absolute and position relative. Now, the next one actually is called position fixed. So let's create another p tag here with the class of fixed. And I'm gonna say I am position fixed. So nothing appears here because these are probably on top of them. So I'm gonna actually comment the position relative and everything from the position absolute, just so you can see the position fixed actually appeared right here. And now we're gonna put them all back. Okay, and remove this comment right here. And this. Great. So now the element with the position fixed is somewhere under this position relative. Let's change that. So for the fixed, let's scroll a little. We're gonna do a background color, which is let's choose this magenta and set it to position fixed. So as you can see, just setting it to position fixed moved it on top of the other element. So it moved it on top of the position absolute because it is after it in the document. If, let's say, I cut this and move it before, they're gonna change order. For now, just a little bit later, I'm gonna show you how to actually set the order for these items. Great, so this is position fixed. We can also set a top and a top position for it. So let's do 200 pixels for this one and a left of 100. And it moved it somewhere here. So this is because we have position relative here, and it's gonna be relative to the document. Great. Now, the thing about position fixed is that it's always gonna be there. So as you see, if I scroll, it stays in the same position. So this is really nice if you want to always have some elements showing on your page in the exact same place. You're gonna see in the example how we're gonna use this position fixed. Great, so this is position fixed. Now, regarding the positioning on top of each other, I'm just gonna move this to, let's say, just a little bit on top, like that. So now you can see the position fixed is on top of the position absolute and the position relative. But I want to have the position absolute, I have a comment here I'm gonna remove. Yeah, like that. So I want the position absolute to be on top of the position fixed. Let's see how we can do that. So we go to the position absolute and there is a property called z-index. And if we set a positive value for this, it's gonna move it on top of the other elements. So if I set z-index to 1, it's gonna be on top of the position fixed. Now let's see what happens if how we can set the position relative to be on top of the to be also on top of position fixed. So we can go to position relative and set a z index of, let's say, 2. And now position relative is also on top of position fixed, and I want to move the position absolute a little bit further down, like that. You can see the z index 2 is bigger than 1 and it moved it on top of everything. Great. So we just have one more left, and then we can go to the example. So this one is gonna be called sticky. It's a newer property, so this was not around before, and it's actually not fully available in all browsers, but it's actually really nice. It's a combination between position relative and position fixed. So I set the position sticky with the class name, and let me show you how that works. So we style the sticky. Let's add a background color. What haven't we used? Let's use red here. Okay, now we're gonna set position sticky, but when we do that, you saw that in my IDE, it also recommended that I set position to WebKit sticky. This is so that that it works in Safari. Great. So now we have set position sticky. One more thing we have to set is the top or bottom property. I'm gonna set the top. So now you see actually nothing happened. It just put it normally there. Just so I can show you, I'm actually gonna comment everything from the other ones and also this one, just so it puts them in order. So we don't have anything, everything is positioned normally right now. So position sticky just follows all of them. But when we scroll, when it reaches the top that you set here, it's gonna remain there. So if I scroll, you can see whenever I scroll, it remains at the top. If I scroll back up, it will remain in its normal position. Also works if you set, let's say, I don't know, 100 pixels. When I start to scroll, when it hits the 100 positions from the 100 pixels from the top, it will remain there, and it will remain there as much as we scroll. And when it reaches, you can see it just slides back into place. Okay, so this was a basic presentation of all the positions. Now let's go to another project and let's build something with this. Let's actually make something that that you can actually use, not just have some colored divs floating around. So I have prepared another folder here. You will find all of this code in the description below. There will be a link to my GitHub account, and there you can download the code and see exactly how I wrote it. I actually created these but didn't add them to the folder, so I'm gonna move them now. Great. So we have another empty CSS file and another boilerplate code in which I linked the CSS. Additionally to this, I added a Google font because I wanted it to look a little bit nicer. It's called Lato. You can check it out in Google Fonts. I'm also gonna leave this link right here in the description below. So let's get to building the page that I showed you in the beginning. So I'm gonna open now this one with live server. It opened it in a new tab. So let's do the markup for this one. So at the top, I actually want to show you the page while we build it, because it will be much easier to understand what elements I put in there. So this is what we are trying to build. So let's start with this image container at the top, where it's going to be a div with the class of showcase. Okay, inside of this div, we're gonna have this image. It's gonna be an image tag. I'm gonna copy it because I have it saved right here with that exact image. So I'm gonna paste that one. And then we're gonna have an h1 tag that's gonna say lorem ipsum company. This is for the top part. After that, we're gonna have a div with the class of nav. Inside that, we're gonna put an unordered list, and we're gonna have some li elements. One is gonna say home, one is gonna say about, and one is gonna say contact. Great. Okay, next we're gonna have this text right here. It's just some random text that I wanted to show because I needed the page to have a little bit of scroll, because I want to show you, you're gonna see the position sticky in action with this navigation right here. If you can see when I scroll down, the navigation stays there. So I needed the page to have some scroll. Great. Next one, let's do that content. So class equals main content. In this one, we're gonna have an h1 with lorem ipsum, and then a p tag. Let's do lorem 50 inside it, then copy this p tag and paste it a few times. I'm actually gonna collapse this because I don't want to see it. Okay, and then the last part is gonna be this map here with the address, with the address bar. So for that, we're gonna have a div with the class of location. Inside it, we're gonna have an h1 that's gonna say find us here. Okay, after that, I'm gonna get that image. I'm gonna leave these images also in the description below, so you can copy the links from there. There are, both of them are from unsplash.com. And great, now we just have to add that div with the class name of address, and inside of it, it's gonna be a p tag. I'm gonna copy the exact address I wrote here. Great, so we have that address. The last thing we have to do is for this floating icon right here that says contact us, it's gonna be let's say it's gonna be a div. It's gonna have the class of floating contact, and inside of it, we're gonna put an a tag. Href is gonna lead to nothing. Let's close this one. Okay, href is gonna lead to nothing, and the text is gonna say contact us. Okay, so let's see what we built. So we have a big image at the top, the title, the navigation, the main section. Then we have that contact page with the really big image, and at the end, the address and the contact us link. Great, so now let's style this. So first thing we are going to do here, it's also, again, I'm gonna set margin 0 and padding 0 for everything, and also box sizing border box for the same reasons as before. Then on the body, we're gonna say the font family is gonna be Lato or sans serif. So Lato is the font that I have imported here with the at the top with the link from Google Fonts. Okay, so it removed the margins and the padding. Great. Now let's do the showcase. So the showcase is this image right here with the title on top. It's gonna have a width of 100%. It's gonna have a max height of 45 viewport heights because we don't want it to go over like about half the page, a little bit less than half. I thought it looked nice. Then we're gonna have overflow hidden because we don't want the image to go outside of its container. And I'm gonna set position relative on it because that title will be set with position absolute on top. But first, let's also do the image just so it looks nice. We're gonna do width of 100%, and we got that image going. Great. Next, we have to do the H1. So this one is gonna be set to position absolute. Okay, then we're gonna do top of 50% and left 0. This puts it right here. I'm gonna do the color first. So the color is gonna be, let's do it with white. Actually, I don't really like that white. I have another color right here. I'm gonna copy it. It's E2, F3, F5. It's a little bluish if you look, just a tiny bit bluish. Okay, now it moved the title to, it will start from 50% the height of this container. So here is the half. But I actually want it to be right in the center. And we can use a trick for this. We're gonna do transform, and then we're gonna translate it on the y-axis with minus 50% of its own height. So we set it to start from the half size of the container, so it's split in half, and then we move it up with half of its own weight. So that way it will be exactly on the center line. Great. Now let's do also add a font size. Let's make it bigger. Let's say 60 pixels. Then also add a padding of 32 pixels. Make it with a width of 100%. So it will, the H1 will be 100% of its container. Let's add a background color. It's gonna be RGBA 000 and 0.4. Just so we can have just a tiny bit darker around it. And one last thing to do is text align to the center. So this is what we, if we look here, this is what we had before. It looks the same. Great. So now the next thing that we have to do is style the navigation. So this is what I'm working on. Okay, so the nav, I think I set the class name to nav. Yeah, I set it right here to nav. So the nav is gonna have a width of 100%, a height of 50 pixels. We're gonna set the position to, we'll add WebKit sticky and position sticky so that it always stays there when we scroll down. And also the top 0. Okay, well, it's gonna have a background color. This background color, I'm gonna copy it. So it's 0E153A. So it's this background color. I'm gonna also set a Z index of 10 for it, just because I want it to always be sure that it's on top of everything else, that nothing comes on top of it. And let's also add a padding of 0 and 32 pixels. Great. Doesn't look too good up until now, but we'll make it work in a little bit. Now let's do the unordered list. We're gonna set the list style to none because we want to remove those bullets. Then we're gonna float it to the right. That's gonna move everything here at the right side. And we're gonna set a margin top on it of 15 pixels. It will just move it down a little. This will make a little bit more sense when we style the list items. So let's do the nav and ul lis. These will have the same color I used here, so this blue whitish. Okay. Actually, no, we're gonna set the color on. Did I add an A tag inside them? No, I should have added an A tag right here. So let's add that now. It's gonna be A tag then home with the href going to nowhere. And we'll do the same for all of them. I forgot to add these here. And this is gonna be on about. And then a href is hashtag, and then it's gonna say contact. Okay, so we made that. Now we have links there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do on the list items, we're just gonna display them inline block, just so they are all of them on the same line. And then now let's style the nav, ul, li, and a tag. This is gonna have that bluish color. So it has that bluish color. We also don't like that border on the bottom. So let's remove it. And let's do a padding 12 pixels top and bottom and 24 pixels left and right. And we have this navigation right here. If you want, you could also float left a logo right here. That would be nice. I didn't want to make it too complicated right here. So nav, ul, li, and an a tag. Let's also do a hover effect on these because it looks nice. So when we hover it, we're gonna have the color, we're gonna do a bluish color. Let me just get that. It's gonna be this 22D1EE, and also a border bottom 1 pixel solid and the same color. And you can see we have a nice hover effect on it. Great. Now going on to the main content. This we're not gonna do much to it. I'm just gonna make it a width of 80%, let's say, and center it with margin 0 auto, like that. And main content, the h1 is gonna have, the text is gonna be aligned center, and it's gonna have a padding of 12 pixels, like that. And also let's do something for the p tags. They are gonna have padding of 6 pixels all around. Oh, it looks a little bit nicer. I didn't want to just leave it like this. Great. So now let's go on to that location part. So we're gonna style the location class. So first we're gonna also have a width of 80% and margin 0 auto because it's gonna set them right in the middle. Then let's do the location h1, align the text center and do a padding of 12 pixels all around. So it's aligned center, don't worry about the image yet. Okay, let's do the image. Location, the image. Okay, so this image is gonna have the width 70% of its container. We're gonna use margin 0 auto to center it. And for this to work, we have to set it to display block. So these two will make that image be nice and centered in the middle. Great. So that's it for the image. I'm not gonna do anything more complicated to it. You can style it better if you want. I just wanted to add some basic styles to it. Now let's do the location.address, because this is, so this address right here. For this, we're actually gonna use a positioning because it's been a while since we used position. So we used position absolute for this title right here, position sticky for the navigation. Now for this, first let's do some basic styles. So it's gonna have a width of 300 pixels, margin 0 and auto also to center it. Now let's add a padding of 25 pixels top and bottom and 32 left and right. Make the corners rounded, border radius, let's say 15 pixels. Okay, let's add it, give it a background color of white. You won't see that just now, but it will make sense in a minute why we do that. Now let's go to the positioning. So we're gonna position it relative. You could do this multiple ways, but I wanted to show you a use case for position relative. And then we're gonna go from the bottom and move it up around 50 pixels. I like that. So you can see it moved it 50 pixels up and here on this, on top of the image. And this will remain the same. It's still gonna have the same height and width on any resolution. Great. So one last thing we have to do, it's this floating icon right here. I think the class name was, let me check, floating contact. So let's style that. This is the last one, floating contact. So we're gonna set this to position, okay, to position fixed. We're gonna move it to the bottom, let's say 16 pixels from the bottom, and also to the right 16 pixels. It's gonna have a background color of, let me get that from here. So it's gonna be this 3D 5AF1. Okay, so all it needs now is a little bit of padding. So let's do 16 and 32 pixels, and the border radius of, let's do the same 15 pixels as the other one. Okay, so all that's left now, I don't like that, those 15 pixels. Let's do more. Let's do 25. Yeah, that pill shape is nice. Okay, and then the A tag, it's gonna have a text decoration of none. Color is gonna be white. Actually, let's not remove the text decoration. I think it looks better. Okay, great. So this was it. I hope you learned a lot about how the position CSS property works, and I hope you enjoyed this small page that we created. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and consider subscribing to the channel to see any future videos. There's a lot of videos coming in the next period. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.